going.
No, I get really bad stage fright. I don't want to sing.
Do you actually get stage fright?
Explicitly
SMITE
only.
Masters. This is Mifflin, by the way.
Yeah, explicitly only when I'm like singing, dancing, or like acting.
Got it. Oh, I was about to go so far down a rabbit hole with you. I will not. Welcome back to SMITE Masters, everybody. Our first best of 3 of the day, our first set of the day, and our first SPL matchup of the weekend. We have been building up the SPL teams coming in here. The Valhalla Valkyries, the 8th seed from the SPL. The Solar Scarabs, the 7th seed from the SPL. That means they've got to play 1 week early compared to some of the other teams. And they were both able to win their best-of-1 matchups earlier on. Callan Wardens, therefore, facing the Eldritch Hounds in a knockout matchup later on after the Valhalla Valkyries and the Solar Scarabs send one of the 2 teams on to week number 2. Now, in your little pregame interview there with Aqua, didn't seem very impressed about either opponent, but
he was slamming French fries the whole time.
Do you know what they were? Which ones?
They're McD's.
Were they?
Yeah.
Where's that on your totem pole?
On my French fry totem pole?
Yeah.
It's pretty low.
I don't want the whole totem pole, but just
it's like 5th, probably.
General area.
If we're saying always fresh, it might be like top 3.
Right, yeah, but how often is...
Almost never.
It's really the case. I did like what I saw from both of these SPL teams, of course. You love what you saw, though, if you're a Scarabs fan, from the Solar Scarabs, because they just ran it down with the style of draft that they had in their one and only game we've seen them so far. Will they run it down again in Game 1 against the Valhalla Valkyries? Well, let's wait no further. Picks and bans for Game number 1 between the Valks and the Solar Scarabs. And on that point, Myth, the Valkyries won their game. They're here. They're playing against the Solar Scarabs in the winner's best of 3. Not without some stumbles, though you could argue the SEC opponents, different, the Hounds, the top-seeded SEC team, things like that. There's plenty of nuance to that conversation. But based on one singular game of data, the Solar Scarabs maybe come in a tad hotter than the Valkyries after their 1 game.
And I think it's a strategy that they could try and employ yet again up against the Valhalla Valkyries. Speed Blitz just works. It's the only portion of the game that you always get to play, and if you win it as handedly as the Solar Scarabs did in their last set, you'd be hard-pressed to find a team that could mount a comeback of that caliber. I believe it was about 9,000 gold, 16 or 17 minutes into the game. That's hard to deal with. But it doesn't seem like the Valkyries are too concerned with all the picks the Solar Scarabs took last time around. Instead, maybe letting a few back through.
Yeah, we'll take the honest away, though. The 5-0-15 game from Veronic, a bit threatening for the Valkyries to go up against the Solar Scarabs, turn their eyes towards the Jingwei, where it feels like everyone this weekend, really second pick, has been banning out the Jingwei a lot, not wanting to allow first pick to snap lock that one. And then the Bologna also taken away alongside the Artemis. All right, so a little bit of strategy that we saw from the Valkyries taken away. If you're a fan of the Solar Scarabs, you're also happy with what you saw from Scary D in the one game that we saw the Solar Scarabs play, because Scary D on the King Arthur, right back at home with those mobile warriors, creating havoc for the opponents. Kleedna, though, left open, Myth, and Kleedna, one of the few games we'll be able to see her, ends up getting picked. You
know, my personal bias to Kleedna first pick is that I hate it as a desk commentator because it reveals legitimately zero about a draft besides the fact that Kleedna is going to be in it. Could go jungle, could go solo. More often will head over to the Soul lane. Solar Scarabs reveal a little bit more of their draft with the Emoja and Nemesis locked in.
Does that help, though, the Circuit? Could be support.
Yeah.
Could be jungle.
Well, I'm hoping it's not Circuit support.
Are we off the Circuit support train?
I think she's so bad with the
changes, right?
changes. Yeah, there's so many scaling changes. Her base stats not incredibly powerful. Her scaling is high. So you really want to build power on Circuit, which tells me that it is likely slated for the jungle, which will lock down Kleedna in the solo lane.
And a snap lock Emoja for inbound. So unlucky for us, we're not going to get the warrior/strange pick run back for inbound. And inbound... It was a bit of a meme for a while. Inbound's Emoja.
Wasn't very good.
Has increased in, is it efficacy or effectiveness now?
Well, we're evaluating the past tense, so effectiveness.
But if it's increased, so it's increased in effectiveness.
Yeah, the Emoja's efficacy should be higher because he's played more going into this match, but the effectiveness similarly has increased.
All right, I think I'm on the same page as you now, Miff. Nemesis and Zhang Kui both picked up here for the Solar Scarabs. Nemesis has seen a rise of play over the course of week 1 here of SMITE Masters, as has Zhang Kui. And Zhang Kui leaves some open to the mind here. Could be a mid lane Zhang Kui, could be at a solo.
You know, I did decide to pull up inbound stats, and in his last 4 Emoja games, 25% win rate.
I was looking at it.
So it maybe doesn't fit the narrative that we were melding, but considering it was a 5% win rate once upon a time, 25.
It actually was a single-digit win
high.
rate once upon a time, and it wasn't great. Yeah, I don't know. See, I think some of the losses aren't necessarily at the Umoja's feet. That said, like a 0-9 game, a 1-7, 1-6.
Maybe a little bit.
And 3 of those 4. It doesn't look great. But I do admire, stats aside, the Scarabs are showing some confidence in their support. Grabbing Umoja first and foremost for inbound, Nemesis and Jean-Qui to follow. On the flip side, Cirquet, as we've already mentioned, and then Baron. I would say there's some flexibility. I do think there could be. Seen some mid, seen some support, seen some solo. And so a little bit of flexibility here for the Valhalla Valkyries. Sensing potentially a mid lane pick still needed for the Scarabs. The Valkyries will take away the Charybdis, which has been very, very popular for Baronic. And the Scarabs will take away a high-pressure ADC and a strong pick for Benny Q in the Merlin.
You know, just looking at the top 3 selection from the Valkyries, if that isn't Baron Samdi mid, this could very well be just an incredibly squishy composition, right? So, like, if it's Baron Samdi in solo, that would put Kleena in the jungle and Cirquet in support. Cirquet's tank stats not incredibly high. Baron Samdi's tank stats not incredibly high. You're going to have a non-standard initiation, which makes me curious to see how the rest of that draft rounds out. As of now, the Valkyries are lacking in consistent multi-target CC and just traditional single-target DPS. The Hunters should be able to help out a fair deal in that regard, but I would like to see a standard initiator for the Valkyries to create the space for this Cirquet or this Kleena to work their way into the backline. Whereas the Solar Scarabs, this is a team fight composition. They've got decent early game presence. Umoja, some of the best level 1 through 5 wave clear that you can ask for from a support. Nemesis, with the Golden Blade, she would have matched up the majority of junglers in the current cast as far as jungle clear speed goes. And then once you get to that late game phase, Rom and Jean-Qui going to be phenomenal team fight scalers. Again, though, Solar Scarabs, similarly to the Valks, have not got the most consistent initiation. It generally is just Riptide, and that's it.
I do wonder, and so that opens the door to the conversation around mid versus solo Jean-Qui. I think the Valkyries may be sensing a solo lane Jean-Qui here, banning both the Charybdis and the AMC way. Those have traditionally been Baronic picks. Solar Scarabs could remedy that. Could remedy some initiation issues depending on where their 5th and final pick ends up going. Cabrakan has fallen a bit by the wayside here this weekend, Myth, but ends up drawing a pick here from the Valhalla Valkyries as well as a Hachiman to finish the draft.
Well, there's the space creation that you're asking for. There's the CC initiation. I really like Cabrakan and how it fits into the draft for the Valkyries. I will say that it is continually keeping me guessing. Ideal world, if I'm placing these pieces as I choose, I'm having Cirquet in the jungle. I'm probably tossing Kleena over towards Soul Lane. You've got Cabrakan headed to support, laning with Hachiman, and then Baron Samdi in mid. I think that is probably the idyllic placement, but a lot of these picks have got a whole lot of shuffle potential.
Yeah, and you know, we talked actually pretty handedly about Benny Q and some of the weird picks Benny Q liked, and I say liked to play because a lot of that was at the SEC, and then he would always fall back to his standard mages and look just as good on those picks as well. But some flexibility for Benny Q still remains in the back of the mind, so can never count anything out here with the Valhalla Valkyries and their draft. Hades, also a pick here, Myth, and so maybe that clears some things up. Jean-Qui for the Solar Scarabs and Hades, potentially a little flip-flop there to be done as well.
Yeah, curious. So this is a very, very strong team fight composition. When we've seen Hades, I had assumed that it was an SEC specialty. I wasn't really expecting him to make the leap to SPL team compositions. Clearly, the value is certainly there. That Bombast Hammer style of build has a whole lot of strengths behind it. I like it a lot. I think the Solar Scarabs are going for a very different style of play, though. This is not the same early game aggression, speed blitz. It's more so, can we get to that 20 or so minute mark, play as a squad, move in towards these objectives? Whereas the Valkyries, I mean, they are just keeping me guessing.
What if I were to tell you that it was Kleena mid and Baron solo? What if I were to tell you that?
If you were, I mean, Kleena mid's not awful. She's got great clear. Post 5. Pre-5, she's going to struggle to play in melee range in that wave. Okay, all right. I'm going to... Wow. Yeah, the Valkyries need to play aggressive in the early game. They want to be meeting the Solar Scarabs at Gold Furies and Pyromancers pre-10 minutes. Like, they need to push if it is Kleena mid.
This is actually a pretty tough question, but I want to zoom out now. We finally get this matchup, SPL team versus SPL team. Do you feel like the speed of the game between two SPL squads will feel different from the matches that we've seen up to this point here this weekend? have been trending long anyway. Do you think this one goes long, quicker? What's your take?
Well, having spoken to some of the SPL teams, they've said, hey, our scrims aren't going as long. I'm not sure what's going on with the SEC, why it's taking so long to finish these games. But in that sentiment, scrims and game day are very, very different mentals. It is entirely different. So it could be that, sure, scrims, when there's nothing on the line, things are ending pretty quickly. But when a team in 9-5 doesn't want to lose, if they just want to maintain their base and elongate the match, it's pretty easy to do so. If I had to guess, just by nature of drafts, I'm expecting this game to be a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
But if we were to go averages across the entirety of the SPL, I think we're still looking at about maybe on average 5 to 6 minutes longer than what we saw in 9-4.
Yeah, I mean, even in, what, a 20,000 gold lead for the Solar Scarabs, it's like a 26, 27-minute game, something along those lines. Intrigue now for me at an all-time high between these two teams because we've seen some unique strategy against SEC opponents. We've seen unique strategy between just the SEC squads. And now we get full-on SPL versus SPL matchup, Valhalla Valkyries versus Solar Scarabs, game number 1.
And what an exciting game to bring us through our first proper set of the day. Trelly, every other game we've had so far has been one game as a whole. This time around, it is going to be a best of 3 set.
They still had game once though.
They still had
so you weren't wrong. They all had game once.
All of the sets so far have had game number 1.
Right, and I'm gonna be honest. Right when I saw that Kleena lock in, if you've been paying attention to Benny Q's Twitter, every time they ban Kleena, he says they're afraid of the Kleena mid, blah blah blah. I'm always the second I saw that through, I was like, that's got to be going to Benny. He's got to be playing the Kleena mid. So it's clearly been working in scrims, or he just like slams it in ranked and has the confidence on it. Kleena's got fairly good pressure once she gets her ultimate, and could be annoying in a 1v1 matchup versus a Zhang Kui specifically.
Definitely very annoying in that matchup, and as well, one of maybe the hardest characters to gank in that mid lane. In solo, you're coming out of the jungle, Cleo's playing towards this side of the map. She can't go into that wall. That's
Which
outside.
side's this?
The right side.
Okay, so you're saying we're looking at solo, you can't go into the right wall, but you can go into the left wall.
Yeah, you can go into the wall that the jungler is coming out of, right? Here in this mid lane, you've got Cleo. She's got so many options of walls of safety to go into.
That's very true, and you can just be hiding in there, get some farm if you need to. Zhang Kui has a lot of tick damage, so once the ult charges up, you can just like, I'm just going to zoom out of here into the wall, and now I'm going to vastly ignore your ult. And it's interesting that they went to the Zhang Kui because when the Scarabs and the Valks first played at the beginning of the season, Benny Q first picked the Zhang Kui. Well, not first pick, but he slammed it down the mid lane and went like 11-0 or something on it. He was very successful on it, so they're trying to take that away. And now Benny's like, I'm just going to play Kleena. Like, it's just such an interesting dynamic. These teams have some history, but the Scarabs got the better of them that time.
Well, hopefully the Valhalla Valkyries want nothing to do with that last time, this time around, trying to reverse the script, if you will. Trelly, we already saw the 2 drafts coming through. What kind of playstyle are we expecting?
I thought you were going to ask me which team's going to win.
Well, I mean, if you want to answer that
I don't want to answer that.
I wasn't going to answer you that question. You seemed very opposed to that question last time, so.
Yeah, because I like analyzing the drafts and say, okay, we got some solid early game here, but also some late game pressure.
Do the draft, then.
That's what I'm doing.
That's what I'm asking.
I'm trying to do
it.
So, looking at both of the drafts, I think that the desk was right to highlight that early aggression's got to be the name of the game for the Valks. It's a comp that is going to be fine late game, but you don't really want to play for that late game. You don't want to say, don't worry, guys, we're going to sit back. We have something like an assassin mid. We don't want to. We're not waiting for the action. We are bringing the action. So I expect to see the Valks get very active early and try and get after it.
Hopefully that will be the case. Finally into game, it is of course going to be me, BlazyBud, and Trelly Relly, although you already had a nice little look at Trelly and his magnificent hair.
And Doug. Doug's going to be here too.
And Doug's here too. How could we possibly forget Doug, NA cameraman, the savior of all eyes?
You said, yeah, I didn't know that was his title, but that's a great way to put it.
I'm adding it.
I was curious to see how these starts would be, and it looks like Benny Q will be trying to get that Transcendence online very early. Baronic taking an interesting take. Wants to get anti-heal online. I was going to say early. It's already online. He has it with his starter arm that he's opted to go for, recognizing that Benny Q has a fair bit of healing if you go into that Soul Eater style of build. Pretty much it's going to full heal off the wave whenever you have one of your 2 charges of an ultimate. So Baronic prioritizing the anti-heal. I think it's going to be a smart bet here.
For sure, yeah. Kimmy also has a lot of anti-heal just inbuilt on the kit, so he's going to be able to stop any kind of healing that Baronic is going to want to do later on in the game after he hits level 5 there. that last breath cancels any form of healing that you might want to put out. It's going to be really useful later game, especially up against Scary D and Inbound.
Yeah, that's one of those lanes where I don't expect, well, I'm talking about the Soul lane specifically. I know you said Scary D and Inbound. I'm talking about Scary D's lane. It's going to be interesting. He just goes for the Bancroft start, right? He's getting damage online. He's not waiting, starting with the tier 1 Bumba's Hammer and like a Warlock Sash. He wants damage. He wants clear right now. You look at Aquarius, he's going Sands of Time, so also not trying to wait. We saw these SCC teams saying, hey, we're going to go Bumba's Hammer, and we are not going to fight. We want to wait until we can upgrade this relic. Aquarius says, I don't want to sit in this lane and just get bullied. I want some extra cooldown, some extra damage, and the MP5 isn't going to be that bad either. So I'm trying to brawl in this lane a little bit against a pick like Hades.
He wants the CDR, and he wants it now. That Sands of Time also going to give him just truly an absurd amount of mana sustain when combined with that blue buff. Going to give him just basically an excuse to never back to base. So I expect to see Aquarius sticking around in this lane for a very long time. Now, Trelly, this build from Scary D so far building into that Bancroft. I know you already touched on it a little bit, but maybe getting aggressive on the mid lane to force out Baronic speeds. Are we expecting a similar build that we saw Deathwalker going yesterday with that Bumba's Hammer in that third slot?
I hope not, but it is the best option. I would say building full damage Hades solo, especially into a Circad, into a Kleena, into a Kraken, those sort of things. Anything with lockdown is going to make the full damage Hades build a little annoying. Starting Bancrofts, there's no problem. You get a little bit of extra healing in that lane. You can pretty much full heal every time a new wave comes, and then you just get extra pressure. Kirmi, though, recognizes purple buff is spawning, but it looks like Scream's on the other side.
Aquarius could be in some trouble. There's a lot of distance between him and his tower. One more auto will do it, and Scream picks up first blood 2.5 minutes in.
Yeah, Scream is making sure to show some pressure on this solo lane, where Kirmi looking more so towards the duo. But if you're looking at jungle v jungle, Scream gets the better end of that one, gets the invade and first blood bounty. Now Scream's going to be closer. I'm wondering if he's going to go into that Golden Blade that we've seen so much for quick clear. This might be, I was going to say, the gank re-gank. Aquarius is not going to step up too far out of position now that the gank has come through. No blue buff, but as we mentioned, the Sands of Time is going to help out with that MP5. Either way, Scream has a lot of gold now in hand. Could upgrade into that stone cutting if he wants to go that route, but I imagine the Golden Blade just trying to clear as quickly as possible, run from camp to camp, could be on the menu as well.
Got to agree with you there. Aquarius now has to play a little bit more careful. Hades already a character that you do not want to get even with, really. You want to stay ahead of this Hades if you can, but now playing from behind could be a bit of an issue for Aquarius moving forward. We'll have to see how he gets on with that. Meanwhile, in the left lane, these two dual lane, they're both pretty seasoned, right? Wowie, Gamma, Stewart and Inbound have been playing in this lane for a very, very long time.
Yeah, definitely. Gamma is, has never had the pro experience up until this season, obviously. So Inbound and Stewart have a little bit more under their belt. But Wowie, he's been around the block for a while. Only level 4, though, and Scream has the ultimate. Is going for a gank here. I don't think it was spotted out by any wards, but just going to be going for the camp invade instead. They're pretty close to that tower, and Scream, not the most burst damage. Has some slows to try and slow them down on the way out, but you got slow immunity with Gamma, and Wowie can just use the jutsu to get underneath the tower. Does not have to worry about that gank. So not going to see any aggression in this lane, and that's sort of what we expect. I imagine Kirmi already tried to get active, but that's much more lockdown and CC. Scream probably going to spend more time on the right side of the map for now.
Speaking of Scream, Benny Q here, sitting about a level up from his contemporary.
Because Cleo
screams.
screams. That's nice.
Like the whole thing.
I was realizing that's what it was, and I had to explain it just in case the viewers didn't, because I almost
thought
did.
it was a really clean transition, but I'm
Kleena.
There
we
see
go.
what you did there.
We're
Well
on
done.
point.
Well done, bravo. Scary D is up here in the Valhalla Valkyries side of the jungle. He's going to get engaged on there by Kimmy. The anti-heal is applied, and Scary D has to try and get out. Benny Q charging forward, looking to find the damage. One ultimate tick should do it, but the pullback from Aquarius is going to stop Scream from engaging onto Scary D. Goodbye.
Yeah, that was an interesting series of plays where I think Scream probably could have just said, Scary D, I'm going to let you die, and I want to be ahead and not die here, but tried to go in and save your solo laner. Not going to be your best option. You had first blood, you had all this pressure on the map, and now you will fall and give a kill over to Kirmi. So now, looking at both kills onto the junglers, but Transcendence, an item you want to get online sooner rather than later, whereas again, Scream is going for that Golden Blade, going to give some movement speed and AoE auto attacks to clear these camps quicker. I'm expecting to see a little... Did he buy full Heartseeker at level 7?
It does look that way.
I mean, I thought it was a misbuy, and he was going to like sell it for Transcendence, but BennyQ has left the base with Heartseeker at level 7.
Break this one down for me, Charlie. I'm a little bit sunlocked.
Okay, well, I was expecting Transcendence, as was 90% of anyone out there, but Heartseeker is going to get a little bit more effective on characters with more HP. If you're looking at the Solar Scarabs, we see 2 Warlock Sashes and a Sovereignty, a little bit of extra damage on these high HP targets. Looks to be what BennyQ is trying to counter here. It'll get more effective as the game goes on, which is why we usually see a bot in that 5th or 6th slot, but BennyQ just going to start it out. He had a lot of gold.
I guess so, and now he's going to be doing truly an absurd amount of damage. Scary D once again gets hit by that last breath, can't heal up in the Pillar of Agony, but coming in with a return, Scream links in, Kimmy dies, trying to find some more pressure onto Aquarius, but the root is going to be good. That's going to be all she wrote. Solo for jungler. Scream, though, that's an important kill for him to pick up.
Yeah, Scream is probably happy about getting the last hit there. Scary D is going to get an assist as well, so that's going to go a fair bit in their favor. BennyQ has the HP to get into the wall, so we're not going to worry too much about that one. It looks like Scream is going for the wraparound, but Inbound is going to just whoop him out of there with the Riptides. Either way, I think that's a good answer back for Scream. Probably wanted the kill onto Aquarius as well, but just didn't have another slice and dice. You can't really chase Baron that far underneath the tower, even with a teleport, meaning no beats, no sort of way to cleanse that slow unless you're hitting the heal. You're just not going to want to chase under tower right now. They are absolutely swinging, so Aquarius is going to be happy with just getting an assist as well and going back to the tower.
I'm looking at these support builds here, Trelly. We got Gamma going for the Sentinel's Gift and Inbound going here for the Benevolence. Why are we seeing this difference in starter item?
Well, we get some extra healing if you're inbound, and I think more often than not, the Benevolence is the way to go. If you are going to go for the Sentinel's Gift, it's more so because we could see some Rivers here, but no more stuns, so Gamma will be just fine. It's more so because if you're favoring these late games, obviously the Sentinel's Embrace is going to give you more Aura Protections if that's what you want, or the Sentinel's Boon is going to give you some extra healing. So I imagine Gamma's thinking more towards the late game of these upgrades. You don't really get too much extra utility and compassion, you just take more damage for your team. But if you want to try to get a little bit of extra healing and or protections for the squad, Sentinel's Embrace is going to be the way to go.
Do you think maybe Gamma's going to push into that Blink as that second relic? Doesn't want to necessarily take the damage, put the Blink on cooldown from going for that Benevolence upgrade?
Well, if you're looking at the relics right now, he's got Shell, meaning Phantom Shell should be the way to go. There's a Yemoja wall you do not want to deal with. You don't want you or Wowie to get trapped in there, or Aquarius in the later stages of the game. So Phantom Shell's got to be on the menu. So now you're stuck in an awkward spot because usually there's going to be a Cursed Ankh picked up against Yemoja. So who's going to pick that one up? Can't be Aquarius. He started Teleport. So are you going to get Cursed Ankh? Or are you going to get the Blink? That's the question, and Gamma has all the power in the world. Not going to be level 12, so we won't see it for a little bit as we see Kirmi trying to get aggressive here. Baronic has been vastly uninterested in fighting this far in the game.
But Stewart has made the rotation over to the left-hand side. Look at that. The dance from Kimmy is going to be good, but he's already expended all of his movement. And he's going to try and jump on Scream, but he will fall down with his life there. BennyQ could be the next one in some trouble. Gamma, though, is able to peel Scream away from him, and Solar Scarabs sneak away another kill.
Yeah, but it looks like the Trebuchet is running down mid lane, so Baronic still has the ultimate available. He could unleash the ghosts if he so pleases, but not going to be too worried about it. The waves are getting cleared, I imagine. We're seeing ult for ult in the solo lane. That's not going to really crest it too much. Looks like Scream is hiding in this mid lane as well, trying to maybe just get some tower damage here. I don't imagine any towers will be going down because of that right there.
It's going to do a lot of damage to the Trebuchet, but it will still get off maybe one more shot onto that tower, which, honestly, onto a tier 1, even the first shot is still pretty impactful. Pretty much all the damage done to the Valhalla Valkyries mid tier 1 right now is from that one Trebuchet shot, so nothing to sneeze at. It still does put the tower down a decent amount.
Yeah, I just don't think Baronic wants to get too aggressive in this lane. Just stacking up Warlocks right now. I would say Zhang Kui can get aggressive very early if you start a Blink, but Pyromancer is getting low here, and Gamma's around. Looks like Kirmi sniffs this out as well.
They're trying to find the Blink forward from Kimmy to stun Sue, looking for some more damage. There's going to be the walls to scream them off. Scream trying to dashes into that wall, and Gamma is going to take a lot of damage in return, but look at the heal from Aquarius. The Phantom Shell was popped, and it looks like Gamma should be able to make it out of here alive. Kimmy, still looking for a priority target. Could get stunned there, but able to jump away from the Moonblast. It looks like Benny's going to use his beads, and that's going to be a wash. It's a surprise no one died there.
Yeah, no one is going to fall there. I thought Baronic really was just going to chase out Gamma and finish with the card, but doesn't want to commit too much when his team was fighting. Kirmi is going to try to invade these back camps because Scream can't really chase him over the wall. That will be a free invade there. A great little fight. We saw a lot of aggression. Pyromancer didn't go down as well, so a complete wash. Take a look at the gold, though. Solar Scarabs, despite being only up 3-2, have about a 2,000 gold lead here. Everyone has been farming pretty effectively, and it seems like Wowie has been losing a little bit of farm to the tower as well, as his tower is taking a little bit of damage. Stuart, they're going different style builds right now, both just going for the chin size. Usually we've been seeing the Wind Demon rush. Both of these ADCs are prioritizing that health shred. We already saw that Benny Q is going to pick up Heartseeker very early on, and I think these ADCs are smart to follow suit. The chin size is going to help out all those Warlock sashes you're seeing on your screen right now.
Rolling forward, Stuart looking for some damage onto Wowie. Has been forced to use the horse, but there's going to be Scream with a slice and dice. Stuart from the sky. We're going to combine to pick up that first kill. Now Gamma could be in some trouble, still holding on to the ultimate. Is Scream. Scratch that. Ultimate still on cooldown there for the Nemesis, so not really a huge amount of kill potential onto Gamma there, but that is going to be a huge pickup on Wowie. Expends the ult as well.
Yeah, and it looks like Gamma doesn't have the ultimate either, obviously, so a Gold Fury could be the option. They have a decent bit of shred and decent bit of burst, and if the rivers go up, who's going to be able to steal this one? My answer is no one, because Benny Q is heading right, so
yeah.
Gamma can't get here. This Gold Fury is as free as it gets, so great play by the Scarabs, getting aggressive in duo lane, putting both of them down, and now they're able to get that Gold Fury for free. Benny Q was going to invade some camps, and Scary D said, I'll cover those as well.
I really like the presence of mind there from the Scarabs. They have an objective, Gold Fury. How do we achieve that Gold Fury? We got to take out somebody here on the left-hand side. Wowie is an easier target than Gamma. Kill Wowie. Gold Fury is ours. Really love that process from the Solar Scarabs. You know what else I'm loving here, Trelly?
The regank that Scream's about to do?
Yeah, sure, that too. Coming over here, the Divine Retribution is going to get beats out, but the damage on the Slice and Dice is truly insane. I was going to actually highlight the Chalice of Oracle that ended up.
Well, I mean, that is a great pickup as well. The wards are going to help you out, but knowing that Wowie's cavalry charge was down, there's nothing that's going to get you away with Nemesis. Even though the beads were expended, nothing that was going to make sure that you survived that. Stuart probably could have had the snipes even if Wowie had some juke shoes underneath that tower. So easy gank there, easy gank, regank, I should say. So that's going to be 2 quick deaths, and now a 2-level lead. That's all it takes. Right now, that lane is dead. Stuart has no fear anymore because Kirmi, he can't really go over there to help out at this point. That tower is almost dead. If it would have died, you would have seen Wowie pretty much at that tier 2 tower just staying there. So great presence of mind by the Scarabs, and Scream just knowing good ultimate times.
Stuart now has nearly a full item ahead, nearly finishing up what I think could be the Atalanta's bow there, or the Silver Branch. Also picks up the Aegis here, which I think is a really big swing in his favor. Has both of those relics now, and the Solar Scarabs looks like they're going to get another objective for free here. Charlie, there is no one in the vicinity for this Pyromancer.
Kirmi and Gamma are, I don't know, gatekeeping the support buff is what it seems like. This is sort of why they're falling behind here. They're losing farm literally everywhere, as Aquarius is going to get stuck in the rivers, and he will die a slow and painful death, drowning in those rivers. Kirmi has not farmed in the past minute. He's just hovering around Obelisk and support buff, but neither has Stuart. He's also sitting about that way. So Wowie's going to answer back with some farm. We saw a 3-level lead turn into a now 2-level lead. So trying to get Wowie back in this game. He's been vastly ineffective because of those 2 ganks. And they're saying, hey, we need to get you some farm. We're going to sacrifice some of our own to get this hunter some, much needed gold.
But Wowie did get the first tower, so truly who did actually win this lane?
Well, we see, I mean, he did win lane. He might need some items before he's able to fight against Stuart, but that gold is going to go a little bit of a way as they steal away the obelisk as well, going towards getting a trebuchet of their own. Obviously, the first one went the way of the Scarabs. About a 5K gold lead currently. No real neutral objectives that anyone wants to look to right now on the map. Obviously, it's going to be a bit longer before that Primal Fury spawns in. Pyromancer, we just saw go down. And with no crit being built yet, I can't imagine a Fire Giant will be on the table, especially because that Zhonghui doesn't have too much Fire Giant burn or burst. There's a little bit, but not enough to pull it 15 minutes.
Is going to be the Silver Branch bow finished up by Stuart here, so getting a couple more of those stats online. Still probably leaning towards that crit build. I know Wind Demon.
Oh, he's stuck in a very small rock.
Q is in a very bad position. He's able to get some damage off, and Solar Scarabs not really liking their chances there around the red buff. Do decide to call for the retreat. They're going to back off for now. Scream potentially rotating around the left-hand side here. He might catch Wowie in a bad spot. And there's going to be the Riptide pulling him back into the fight. Scary D tries to keep some people locked down here. And here come the arrows raining down from the sky. Holding that third one. Not going to be able to connect. And Inbound getting pulled back into 5. And that's going to be Benny Q for 1.
That's a classic Scarabs moment. Staying too long. Baronic is going to go in here with the Ghost and Scream's in the backline.
He's got half HP, but Wowie might be able to finish him off. Benny Q saves the life of his ADC for now, and look at the damage coming through from Aquarius. Baronic looking to try and run away, but that's going to be a triple kill for Benny Q. The Valhalla Valkyries find their voice and shout back.
Okay, so as I was saying, that's a classic Scarabs moment. They are so good at playing the early game and finding early leads. Blazy, what were they just fighting over? I'll tell you, nothing. That was a 5v5
The tower.
at the red buff, not even underneath the tower. They weren't even going for the tower. That was a fight just to fight, and that was a lost fight at that. Primal Fury is about to spawn in here, but that was just the Scarabs trying to force onto nothing. They could have very easily farmed up and just set up for this next Primal Fury. Now they're going to be a little bit down. Not in gold, as you can see, just relics, ultimates, that sort of thing. If you take a look at the right side of the map, pretty much every relic for the Solar Scarabs besides the Bracer and Scary D's beads are down. The Valhalla Valkyries are looking pretty solid in that regard. Still, again, behind in gold. Items themselves, they're not going to be looking too good here, but the Solar Scarabs, they need to dial it back a little bit. Fight over these objectives, but forcing underneath a red buff and tier 1 tower, I'm not seeing the benefit.
Scary D still doesn't have a starter item here, Charlie, so could be potentially waiting until level 20 to make up his mind and decide what he wants to get.
He's just going to fall by a Bumba's Hammer.
Yeah.
There's no other option.
That's the most like. I mean, he could go for the alternate timeline. You don't know.
I mean, you're right there. If you're asking me to create other options,
just
yeah,
saying.
there's 1,000 other options he could go, but he's just gonna build the Bumba's Hammer. Stewart though is getting wrapped around here by Aquarius, but he's not running. He's trying to fight this.
He doesn't have a whole lot of options. Inbound does drop the rivers, and luckily he's able to get through, but Gamma puts those walls down. Stewart, no place to go, no place to hide. Inbound is also going to be one who's dying.
Scary D makes the rotation over, but look at Scream. He's pushing down mid tower right now. As we mentioned, that fight beforehand was pretty bad by the Scarabs, and it set up the Valks to get a lead back into this game. Now, this Primal Fury is going to actually even up that gold lead a little bit. It's only looking about 3K at the 5K we did see, and now it's going to be even less than that. Scream probably trying to invade the enemy jungle, get some vision around Pyromancer. That's the next real objective that they should be fighting over here. But great heads-up play by the Valhalla Valkyries. Aquarius makes the long wraparound there and tries to cut off Stewart. And even though he insta-canceled the ult, was not able to juke out Gamma. So great walls by Gamma as well.
The Valkyries are not prepared to let the Solar Scarabs run over them this time around. They're here to play and prove themselves worthy of taking down the Bug Boys. At the moment, they're looking pretty strong. Despite that difference in gold still favoring the Solar Scarabs, the Valkyries have been able to win a whole fight, take some objectives, and have re-established themselves a little bit in this game.
Yeah, that wasn't a true 5v5. Honestly, it was more of a 3v5 the whole time. Inbound and Stewart got caught out after Inbound tried to save Stewart. And then Scream says, you know, good luck. I'm going to get some farm. That fight is not worth it. And I think a smart play at that. Just try and stay a little bit ahead in the jungle right now, a 1-level lead, whereas the Valhalla Valkyries are going to pull this Pyromancer. Look at your screen. There's no one but a bubble from Inbound that can even contest this.
And not even that. Benny-Q and Kimmy doing such a good job of making sure Inbound wants nothing to do with that general vicinity. Moving on to the Fire Giant Trelly, this could be a really risky
This is going to go
call.
real slow.
Stewart is all the way on the left-hand side. The damage isn't really there from the Scarabs just yet. Trying to pull back Inbound, but there's a whole wall in the way. I don't know what Aquarius is trying to get him through, but wow, he finally breaks that one down. Blinking forward is Scary D, looking to root out a couple people, but has to dash away eventually. Aquarius is going to get stunned here, but I don't really know what the objective was there.
Yeah, if you're looking at Wowie's build, level 15, tier 1 Shuriken, that's not shredding through a Fire Giant, and I think the Valhalla Valkyries realized that as well. Stewart also realized it and said, I'm not even rotating because they're not getting that. There's no way that Fire Giant goes down. He's going to farm up, take the tower and left. He invaded purple buff as well, so Stewart made the smarter call in saying, There's no way the Valhalla Valkyries can pull FG right now. Wowie simply does not do enough damage. Of course, Benny Q shreds through the FG, but that's not enough. It's a tanky boy, and they need to group up for it. Scary D, though, he could be in some trouble.
Already expended the dash, and there's going to be the route out from Aquarius. This guy does have a lot of HP, though, and here comes Inbound trying to give him some support. There's just too much damage on the side of the Valhalla Valkyries. 4 out of 5 members are right here, and Inbound's got nowhere to go.
And it looks like Bobby keeps dying for his teammates' sins. He keeps trying to go in and help them out. It's not going to work. Benny Q playing zone duty finally has a lot of damage online. Just one tick is going to be enough to scare them off. The FG will be able to get pulled again, but wow, he hasn't backed. He still does not have that much damage, and Gamma's looking weak. If Aquarius is going to try to tank this, even 3v5, they could be a solid defense here from the Scarabs.
3 members, Stuart, Scream, and Baronic looking to try and contest this Fire Giant. They definitely have the potential to, as the ultimate onto Gamma comes through from Scream. The damage is going to be good, but the shell's going to keep him alive for now. Aquarius falling real low, but it's not going to stop him from putting Baronic into the party. Stuart gets rooted out there inside the ghost line. Blinking back forward, Scream, trying to trade some stuff out. Benny Q falls down, but wow, he's going to pick it up in return.
Love that play from Scream. That's their DPS. And, you know, usually you'd say, hey, kill the ADC, Fire Giant's not gone. Again, Wowie does not have items. Benny Q, he's the DPS for that FG. Now, that Fire Giant call is dead. So Scream recognized immediately, I'm trading out my life for Fire Giant, essentially, and it worked out perfectly. Now, the Valhalla Valkyries have to back up. They've got 35 seconds on Benny Q. I'm sure Wowie should be able to finish up that Shuriken, or at least tier 2, and that is when this Fire Giant is going to shred a little bit quicker. And the Wind Demon does come through. Now, the Valks have that option. Do they want to just pull this and do it a little faster, as I mentioned, and it's going to be a better call.
That's the question, right? And you know what, Charlie, despite all of their wins in these engagements, the picks they've been able to find, the Valhalla Valkyries still really haven't closed up this gold lead all that much. Now sitting at 1,000, which is better than it was, and way better than it was maybe 10 minutes ago, but still haven't been able to cross that back onto their side of the graph.
Well, remember when I said there wasn't a 5v5? That still wasn't a 5v5 because Scary D got picked, and then Inbound got picked, and then Scream blinks in, kills Benny Q, and then Scream gets picked. So there was never a 5v5. The Solar Scarabs are still up in this game. You're looking at Benny Q. He's a massive part of the reason that this gold lead is in his favor. Level 20 to Baronic's level 17. The Zhang Kui is essentially just blinking in, getting some ghosts off, applying the anti-heal. That's going to be the name of the game for Baronic. Right now, though, we might see our first 5v5 team fight near this FG. Everyone is grouped up. Scream is still clearing some waves, but the Valks will finally pull this Fire Giant.
It's going to be burning relatively quickly here. Wowie does have that crit online, and it's going to be about half HP now before the Solar Scarab starts to engage. At this point, it is too late to drop the Fire Giant, and the Valkyries are going to be able to pick this one up. Aquarius up into the copy, and he goes, and he's going to pick up Inbound. Straight into the back line is Scary D, but Kimmy's going to be the first one to fall. Scary D is going to follow him straight down into the grave, and Stuart now rolling forward, takes a lot of damage from Benny Q, and Gamma's going to take credit for that one. Inbound up all the way the creek without a paddle, and he's going to fall down too.
Yeah, the Solar Scarabs wanted to try and get some Fire Giants off the belts of the Valhalla Valkyries, but just couldn't get enough damage off. Stuart dashes in, very aggressive, then tries to go to the sky and gets burned down well before that's able to happen. Scream did find Kirmi in the backline, so you lose FG on 1, but this is going to be the start of the Valhalla Valkyries gold lead, and it's already begun. Now, you have the option to pull this Gold Fury. 3 tier 2 towers are still available, and Scream's nowhere to be found. Right now, he's clearing some waves behind the fact, so this tower is going to go down for free.
Yeah, that left side tower just so important, and it looks like the Valkyries might be trying to push their luck here with the Phoenix as well. Scream wasn't there, he's only just back, so it's going to take him a while, but there isn't a huge amount of damage onto the Phoenix just yet. I say that, and of course, Wowie drops that banner. It's going to give everyone on the team a whole chunk of attack speed, and that left side Phoenix is a huge boon for the Valkyries.
Yeah, starting now, the 2,000 gold lead from the Valhalla Valks is here. It's going to take a bit longer, but they have a lot of different objectives to pull. In the meantime, as I mentioned, Gold Fury is going to be up here. Then they might go for that tier 1 and tier 2 rather in mid. Then they get to back and spend some gold. We're seeing those starter items start to be upgraded. Obviously, the Bluestone Brooch for Benny Q. If you're looking at Wowie's build, the Ornate or the Diamond Arrow could be the option, and that's going to give a little bit more crit chance or just raw damage on your auto attacks. Either or will be pretty helpful at this point. If you're looking at the Scarabs, I think the Scary D has a massive power spike on the way once that Bumba's Hammer finishes. He just ticked over to level 20 and has 2,000 gold in hand, so that's going to help this Hades survive a little bit. As we talked about in the early, about how Scary D is going to go for the Bancrofts and then get tankier. Warlock Sash, Spirit Robe, that's some tank stats, but mostly just going for healing, and it seems like Kirmi is always going to be there to apply that anti-heal if needed if the poison spreads, which it did last fight. You're not really getting the benefit of this lifesteal build.
A power pot here built also by Scary D. He's really hard committing into having this extra power now that he's got the Boomba's Hammer online. I guess he's really relying on being able to burst someone down, but you're spot on the money there, Trelly. Kirmi should be able to just go, hey, Scary, no, you don't get to play in this fight because you're just going to die.
Yeah, I think the power pot is essentially Scary D saying, this is our last stand. The gold is as close as it will be. If we win this defense, I want to be as strong as humanly possible, so I'm going to build the Boomba's Hammer and then get a power pot to help out this defense. Tier 2 tower in mid seems to be where everyone's grouping up at, where Scream is just clearing these waves in left with Golden Bow, but Kirmi might be trying to take a 1v1 here and is trying to chase down Scream in the jungle.
It's going to be a weird one for Kirmi. The Slice and Dice doesn't connect onto the Circuit. She's going to be able to jump away just fine. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Scary D, it takes, what, 4 auto attacks from the ADC? Nearly falls down. Benny Q nearly finishes up the kill there onto Scary D. Left-hand side, still this engagement from the junglers. Kirmi to do some damage as Scream jumping back forwards, trying to find a little bit more pressure onto Scary D. The blink perfectly predicted by the Cobra's Kiss, and Scream will fall down in the 1v1.
I was going to say he might be able to take Kirby with him, but it looks like the 5v5 or 4v4 in mid is going down. Some low health bars, but inbound falls down first.
Scary D jumping forward. Gamma is able to get the stun off, and before he kills Aquarius, Aquarius is going to heal from him. Scary D, nothing to do in that fight.
And he got the revive off pretty nice, and Benny Q's healing up as well. No one is going to fall. Stewart doesn't have anything, and now it's just Stewart against the world. This is going to be the end call. The Valhalla Valkyries, they have the comeback.
They don't even care about that middle Phoenix Trelly. Aquarius got to tank it up for Benny Q, but Stewart doesn't have a ghost of a chance to defend this one out here. The Titan already falling to about half HP, and the Valhalla Valkyries from a 6,000 gold deficit should be able to tie this one up.
Yes, Kieran, there's no way Stewart has enough damage. We'll find some low health bars here. There's no, okay, the coffin, that's gotta be able to seal this one. Pretty close, there's no way!
No way! Benny Q dashes in, Stewart with a quadra kill, nearly able to save it. Charlie, I was so done. I thought that was gonna be it. Stewart had nothing, he nearly was able to find it.
If Stewart found the pentakill, I would have ran around screaming. That was insane. Either way, greatly played by the Valhalla Valkyries. I think they just dissected the draft of the Scarabs, saying, hey, we're never going to let them 5v5. We're going to get a pick here. Inbound tries to help, he dies. Get a pick on the right side of the map. Inbound tries to help, he dies. And then they just had the gold lead after the fact. Fire Giant fight went so cleanly for them as well. Unfortunate for the Scarabs. They had that 6,000 gold lead, as you said, but they just weren't able to do anything with it.
Well, Trelly, already one game up and only one to find. The Solar Scarabs have to come back here in game number 2, which is what we'll be seeing, because it's coming right up.
Hey, wait, what did it win?
You win the respect.
You're telling me an alien wore this?
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, that was a good cut.
Messaging him to mute.
The best graphics you really need, Ultra, of course, and I can probably watch a stream on the side.
Content's gonna look good.
Pretty good, pretty good.
I know I send all of my rap foes like they my tadpoles. Yeah, yeah. Blowing up, I just had to go crack now on my Depot. Yeah, that Draco bustin' like free throws. I do not miss no shots, I got the cheat code. That's why I never lose. They can't predict my moves. I'm way too smooth, yeah. I just caught a groove, yeah. This right here, that Charizard, the fire in the booth, yeah. Had to go right back to it, yeah. If you ain't talking my money, please save your breath, don't bring it up to me, yeah. I pull up in that stunt like a 007 James Bond type movie, yeah. Hey, don't slip on the trip, no, 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 no. Don't slip on the trip, don't slip on the, don't slip on the. Don't slip on the trail. tempo. You keep up with my tempo.
Our first SPL matchup here in SMITE. We did it again. SMITE Spring Masters. I gotta think of something else to say. Goes to the Valhalla Valkyries. Of course, the players in their booths playing on top of the line Alienware gear. Thanks again to Alienware for partnering with us this year here in Season 9 and providing our players and production and everyone else involved in the SPL with some awesome Alienware gear. You can get your hands on some as well. Make sure to follow them on Twitter and Instagram at Alienware and head on over to alienwarearena.com. Thanks again to Alienware for powering us here in Season 9, powering the Valhalla Valkyries in game number 1 as well, Myth. A game where the Scarabs, if you have short memory on how Phase 1 went for the Scarabs, it was honestly a lot of this. It was a lot of early game leads and then fumbles somewhere in the mid-game, and then the team that was behind ends up beating them. And this is just another example of that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said about the compositions, if the Scarabs could just get to that 30-minute mark from even or ahead, they're probably just going to win because the team fight should outscale. Just looking tit for tat, piece for piece, you'd think so. But you look up at the 15-minute mark, the Scarabs are up like 4,000 or 5,000 gold.
Right here.
It's like, okay. Yeah, all they have to do is wait. I looked at Hindu Man and said, all the Scarabs have to do is AFK for 6 minutes and do nothing. And what do the Scarabs do? As I'm saying it, I see the wry little smile on Hindu Man's face, and he looks at me and says, the Scarabs won't do that. And I look at the screen, and they're inside the red buff fighting over Trelly's words. Literally nothing. Lose the team fight, and I'm not sure the Solar Scarabs won a team fight afterward. It was the Valhalla Valkyries with all the momentum able to claw their way back in. The Solar Scarabs were not once grouped up as 5. It was always somebody getting poked out. It was always somebody getting picked first. And the Valhalla Valkyries said, well, their team fight might be better, but they're just not using it.
Right, and it was like a 4,000 or 5,000 gold lead there at that 15-minute team fight, and it only shrunk down a little bit. That was far from an entire lead throw, but the Valkyries able to play with that momentum, as you pointed out, for the next couple of minutes, played the map a little bit more effectively. Wowie started off this game near bottom of the damage charts and then suddenly roared back later on once the build finally started to connect. Now, we did get to see a glimpse of how tanky the Titan can be even at the 27 or so minute mark, and a miraculous play from Stewart to get a quadra kill, nearly a pentakill. But the Valhalla Valkyries able to drop the Titan with only one team member left on the map. 7-3-7 is how Wowie ends this game. If you told Wowie at the beginning of the game that he would end 7-3-7.
Started 0-2.
Right, yeah, he's quite surprised with how his game turned around. 25,000 damage for Benny Q. Aquarius on the Baron put up some good damage numbers here as well. Baronic just couldn't really keep up on the Jonquise. Scary D on the Hades, damage-wise, couldn't keep up either. And our first real glimpse in a little while at one of the strange picks for Benny Q out of mid in the Kleena.
And it works out. Look, the Valkyries don't even get the early game dominance that you'd expect from a Kleena in mid. That composition really was, hey, first 10 minutes, we're going to dominate. It's a pick-style composition that would transition very, very well towards objectives, thanks to the burn of a Kleena. Didn't seem to matter. The Valhalla Valkyries, I think, are just given a second win by that red buff invade from the Solar Scarabs. That said, I don't think the Solar Scarabs will make the same mistake. I feel like that is a very significant wake-up call, coming off of that very fast start they had in their first set, maybe riding high a little bit, get knocked down, you got to get up again.
Do you know what that song is called? I sure don't.
I really do not. Oh my god.
Is that? Oh, that might be the song title that's like really long and absurd. Look it up and try to pronounce it for me whenever you get a chance. Bans remaining mostly the same here from game number 1. Kali, Giannis taken away, Bologna, and Jingwei also banned out. I'll take a Mercury ban. And then the Solar Scarabs with one final ban slot. Could change some stuff up, could just run back the same pick and ban phase from game number 1. Inbound on Yamoja looked pretty threatening early on. That was left open for inbound. The Kleedna for Benny Q was also left open. I think the Valhalla Valkyries love snap locking that pretty early on here. And so this is the real first adjustment point for the Scarabs. And that's always a hard game to adjust off of, Miff, because if you're the Scarabs, you realize you played it properly. You got a 5,000 gold lead early, but some moments in the game is really what needs to change, maybe not so much the comp.
Yeah, so if it comes down to play on field, that's, well, it's not the easier of the two things to adjust. It's always easier to just lock in a different god, but there is some solace in knowing that the strategy works. You can rely on what you've been practicing and can try and do it all over again, so the Solar Scarab's probably not too hard-pressed. To get back to the actual point, though, it's Chumbawamba tub thumping.
Yeah, okay, so it was the it was the long, confusing one, but you got it.
Yep.
You got it, Miff.
With the power of Google and Alienware at my side.
Mainly the Alienware, though.
That's
Kleedna
right.
picked again for the Valhalla Valkyries. Remember, there is some flexibility here. Could be mid, could be jungle, could be solo. Benny Q had it mid over in game number 1. Didn't have the early game dominance that we expected, but still rounded the corner in the mid to late game and looked good for the Valhalla Valkyries. Solar Scarabs going to run back the Yamoja for inbound again. Didn't look bad by any means. Actually was drawing some good pressure for the Solar Scarabs in game 1.
Yeah, for the first 15 minutes, Yamoja was actually out-damaging Wowie on the other side. That's how dominant the Solar Scarabs were in the early portion, in spite of having a composition that wasn't slated for it. Maybe just played a little bit slower this time around, Scarabs, and you might have a little bit of an easier time transitioning into that late game.
He's going to run it all back.
Yeah, maybe. We got to just blind pick, save everybody some time.
Are you a fan of just straight-up run back? What's your mentality on the full-on run it back 5 versus 5?
I almost never am a fan of it, but the style of play that teams I played on was very cheesy. We would go for things that just simply would not work twice in a row. So not for me, but in general, having the run back, I mean, hot hands, you realize how the compositions are going to play. You know exactly where you want to address aggression on the map. Hindsight's 20/20.
All right.
Maybe not applicable anymore.
Not a full-on run back. AMC was banned by the Valkyries in the second wave of bans in game 1. Ends up getting picked here for the Solar Scarabs at the end of their first pick ban phase. Artemis was taken away last draft as well. Actually, a big swap already in the first 3 bans. Solar Scarabs take away the Baron, I believe, instead of the Artemis. So always was going to have to be something different for the Valkyries out of the solo lane. Snaplock Iza ban, Olarun taken off the table as well. That has actually been a Stuart favorite. When an AMC gets locked in for the Scarabs in mid, Stuart has loved this Olarun pick. So the Valkyries have clearly done their homework, and then also take a shot at Scary D.
I am curious to see the Solar Scarabs prioritizing the AMC over something like the Charybdis. That's one of Baronic's favorite picks. Very safe, would deal with Kleena if that is going to be Kleena mid again. Has great anti-gank tools up against the Surcat. Just get down to the Maw and walk out of there pretty easily. AMC, on the other hand, doesn't have traditional mobility, and Surcat, being one of the most mobile assassins in the game, should be able to close that gap with relative ease. But I mean, Charybdis is still available. It's not too late to have a shift up, have AMC go over towards the dual lane. Charybdis could still go into mid. Both having defense shred in their crit means you're not sacrificing too much with the double hunter composition. You've also got defense shred from Nemesis out of the jungle. But instead, it's the Heimdall locked in. Makes me think it is still probably AMC in mid.
Yeah, no, you're right. Should be a Heimdall over in the dual lane. Lots of physical damage, though. We have seen these double hunter compositions usually lends itself to some type of magical damage out of the solo lane with Baron taken away and Cabrakan already picked on the other side. Hades or Zhonghui could come at a premium here for the Solar Scarabs if that's the style of solo laner they want to supply some of that magical damage. Inbound was out damaging Wowie for a little while, so you'll get a little bit from Yamoja. Hades is now off the table. I wonder if the Solar Scarab's feeling pressured to grab some magical damage for Scary D.
I am curious to see a Hades lock-in up against Double Hunter, though. That's not the easiest to perform on. Sure, Pillars of Agony gives you a good deal of damage mitigation, but lined up against double kin size isn't going to help you out a whole lot. Once you get towards that Bumba's Hammer, you can start playing more so around the fear, constantly healing yourself, make it a little bit more difficult for the Solar Scarab's double ADC comp to apply their damage. But looking at even more, I mean, Stinger plus Nemesis Ultimate, I don't care how much damage mitigation you've got stacked up. You stand still, you're probably just dead.
Solar Scarabs have an individual target shred style of composition right now, plus Heimdall Ultimate, though. Don't often see all of those stacked up on one another, but definitely a Stinger plus Nemo can obliterate health bars immediately. Some good safety, some good turnaround potential, and good scaling from Heimdall here for Stuart and the rest of the Solar Scarabs. Clean Circuit, Cabrakan, Hades, and now Hachiban yet again. Hachiban feels like it's going to become a catch-all pick down towards the end of the draft when the Jingweis, Artemis, Izanamis have been taken away. Heimdall has been pretty important as well. Hachiban tends to be a fallback.
Yeah, and with Heavenly Banner, going to make all of your auto attackers a little bit more effective around neutral objectives. Osiris locked in.
4 physical.
4 physical draft, but again, AMC plus Nemesis kind of like makes it not a big deal. With all that defense shred, it doesn't necessarily matter that you're 4 phys stacked. Having Yamoja as your sole source of magical damage, not ideal, as she is
Bobby's going
generally gonna
Divine
fall off.
Ruin.
He might. He's done it in the past. I doubt it, and I wouldn't like to see it. I don't know.
He's going
I don't know.
full damage.
Yeah, the Solar Scarabs draft is just fine.
Yeah.
It's just about whether or not they can leverage that early game again if they
They're
look
good
to
at it.
establish it. It's the best portion of the game for them, but this is not an early game draft. It's really about getting that double hunter stacked up on top of each other and moving in towards these objectives. And the Valkyries have got a great pick-based composition. Cabrakan, Surcat, Kleena, all very good at isolating individual targets on the Solar Scarabs. We're looking at a game that is, well, narratively should be very similar to what we saw in Game 1, or should have expected in Game 1, where the Valhalla Valkyries will likely try and press the lead throughout the early. The Solar Scarabs flipped the script by dominating the early game themselves, but one team fight kind of threw away that whole lead.
I'm excited to see what Surcat can do on a run back here for Kirmi, because I think there were some moments where could still see where there was some value in this Surcat out of the jungle. Nemesis, again, when you pair that with a Stinger, should be important. What'd you make of the jungle matchup here? Pretty important between Kirmi and Scream in game number 1.
I mean, we only got to see the 1v1 just about once, and it was the Surcat that won out, but it was a small microplay, blink into a taunt, just not an ideal situation. Cool. Strips away the shield immediately as well. Surcat has got great tools to deal with Nemesis. Nemesis does not lose very many 1v1s, though. As long as the Nemesis holds onto the shield until after Surcat uses her ultimate, you're able to immune all that true damage. It's healing you up at the exact same time. I think that the 1v1 isn't really going to be a major factor. The difference is neither one of these guys wins so hard that if in a 4-1 split Phoenix Siege situation, the one jungler is going to have a significant advantage. I don't think that's the case. It's more so how are they going to apply their damage to the team fight, which one of them is going to hit their power curves a little bit sooner. I'd probably hedge my bets towards the Surcat.
This might actually end up being a pretty simple question, because we haven't addressed it all. Is there any world where you could see Quidna and Hades swap something like that, or Cabrakan be somewhere else, or in your mind, pretty solidly going to be Benny Q back on Quidna, Hades back in solo for, or Hades over to solo for Aquarius, and more of a run back style for the Valkyries?
I think it is the run back style, but to answer your question, yes. Just about all of those 3 picks could flex into either of the roles. The only thing I wouldn't like to see, the thing that I would hate to see the most, rather, is Surcat in support. She just doesn't have the scaling to go towards defense anymore. But could Cabrakan go mid? That's Benny, so sure. Could Hades go mid? He's a mage, sure. I would like to see them play that same style, though.
And we will see something slightly unique here, Miff, for the Solar Scarabs, especially out of the solo lane in Scary D on the Osiris. It feels like as of late we've seen a lot of Osiris in the jungle, mainly. Do you think Osiris still has his place in the solo lane? Make some waves for Scary D.
I didn't until I saw Relentless One playing yesterday, and he's like hovering 10% HP for the entirety of a team fight, just constantly healing with the Bumba's Hammer, still has great damage mitigation, one of the tankiest warriors into the game thanks to Tether.
Yep.
So Osiris in the solo, I'm a massive fan.
Remember, this is not a knockout match, but an advancement match. The Valhalla Valkyries take game 1. Can they take the set 2-0? Let's dive in and find out.
It's all they need to do to make sure that they get into tomorrow's game. They just got one more to find, and it could be this one right here. Taking some inspiration from their own draft last game and a little bit from the Solar Scarabs draft last game, Trelly. Going to see Aquarius taking away the Hades and a couple other picks filtering into the Valhalla Valkyries side.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting late game for sure. The double ADC comp I like a lot, and I think Baronic always looks so solid on the AMC. The issue, like the desk highlighted, is the lack of magical damage, so expect to see a Sovereignty from Gamma, which is already going to be coming out. Maybe even a Breastplate of Valor on some carries if you need to. There's so many different options you can go for physical defense that also give you some great stats late game. I would not be surprised if we saw an influx of items like that, but I think also the desk touch on the fact that they have a lot of prot shred built in, so they won't have to worry about it too much. I'm just amazed to see the Solar Scarabs are leaning on this comp when their early game went so well last time, so I think this is going to be a better late game. Maybe that was the option, right? The early game went so well, the late game didn't. Now they've got 200s.
Does open the door for the Valhalla Valkyries to get themselves going a little bit earlier, though. This time around, Aquarius on the Hades, which, as we've touched on multiple times this week, really does have that early game lane pressure. Although, that being said, Osiris definitely no slouch in that lane in the early.
Yeah, especially against the Hades, you just sort of wait for the slam to come down the healing, and then you just start boxing him. And then so he doesn't have much cooldown to deal with it, so you can just out-trade him. And it looks like Scary D is going into a hammer. Could be the Rune Forge, could be the Blackthorn. More than likely, going to be that Frostbound. Just be a nuisance in this lane. Aquarius has teleport once again, so no real way to get away after the fact. It looks like Aquarius is going to be taking a fair bit of damage, but this is the issue. Whenever there's a wave there, you can just heal up so easily on Hades.
And it does so much damage, too. Scary D, no magical defense available to him just yet. And that won't be for quite some time, especially if he's going into that Frostbound, as you mentioned, probably holding off. Maybe we'll see the Shogun's Kusari coming up after that, but that's maybe 10 minutes away.
Yeah, I like seeing the health items first when you're against a magical solo and a physical jungler. It just works out so much better because if you go for just straight magic defense, Kirmi rotates over and you're very squishy. If you go for straight physical defense, you're up in lane against a Bancroft's Hades, so that's not going to work either. But the HP, that's going to make you effective against both of those targets as the second blue buffs come through. Last time, remember, we saw that Kirmi was on the left side of the map and Scream was right here at this blue buff. This time, no pressure on the left side. Both of these junglers are trying to get their solo laners, their blue buffs guaranteed to keep them safe in lane.
And both of these solo laners definitely need that extra mana sustain, right? Hades basically going to be throwing out all of his abilities as often as he can. Same with the Osiris, especially that one. The sickle
strike.
Yeah, the sickle strike to make sure that Aquarius is going to be a little bit slower. Does a fair amount of damage throughout the early game as well, depending on what Scary D's leveling. So definitely a good idea from the junglers to have the presence of mind to make sure that these blue buffs are secured.
I'm a one-maxer myself.
Yeah.
For Osiris.
Me too.
The second ability, it gives you some AoE. It's a nice poke, but it's such a low cooldown on the first ability. If you're constantly clearing with cleave autos, you can just max the one and go off. But
For sure.
Scary D, he cares more about the clear. He's just going to be going for the poke more often than not and maxing that second ability. It depends, you know? Depends on what your style is. And right now, you're up against a Hades who probably doesn't care about your poke.
No, probably not whatsoever. As we've already mentioned, that 3, the explosion will both heal and deal an incredible amount. Kirmi is on his way over. Double stun from Gamma with the clap. And inbound should fall down here for first blood with that last breath ticking. There it is.
It's going to take a little bit, but Kirmi hits 5 first, so easy kill potential there. Obviously, we're going to go ult for ult in the solo lane. I expect to see that pretty much every time they want to get aggressive, unless Scream's on the way. Scary D can't really stop the back, though, and it looks like Aqua, he stopped his own back.
He doesn't want to go home, Scary D, though. He's right there, and Scream gonna hit the ultimate, and Aquarius nowhere to go but down.
I thought he was going to get like a massive heal up, but that's only tier 2 Bancroft. So that was a full Bancroft, so maybe could have had a little bit more juke shoes there, but that's the benefit of getting a Hades ult down early, and especially if you Aquarius could have backed, by the way.
He
just
absolutely
he
could've.
wanted to keep bullying Scary D, which I understand. And again, he has teleport, so not going to lose too much. The worst part of it is you're going to give Scream that extra kill. He got the first blood last time. This time around, that kill is going to go over to Wowie. So Kirmi not. Is this the gank regank?
Maybe, but Aquarius is a lot safer this time around. Has the under the floor jump available to him. Stuart uses the beads there. Very smart to preemptively use that. Is going to lose out on his purple buff, as are the Solar Scarabs going to lose out on their blue buff, but so that's an even trade.
Well, yeah, Scream's going to make sure that Scary D is able to take this one away. And now Scary D could go solo his own blue buff.
It doesn't look like the purple buff was actually dropped here at the top side.
Well, because it was an invade.
Right, okay.
So yeah, it's
Understood. The icon just isn't shown. My bad. That's on me. My brain.
It's okay.
Yeah, thanks. There's just, it's a lot bigger of a screen. I can't see it very. It's huge.
This is the main stage.
It's
I
like a
understand
cinema.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand. But looking at this matchup once again, both of these mid laners, you know what? No, I'm not going to say it because Benny Q may be going into Heartseeker. There's not any Warlock sashes being
Here it
built
comes
unless
again.
Inbound wants to go for it. So there is a chance that Benny Q makes that transition into just Transcendence instead of the Heartseeker as last game. This time, though, he says, I don't care what you think, Trelly. I don't care that they don't have Warlock Sash. I'm still going to build first item Heartseeker because Scary D has the Rune Forge. Sovereignty still going to give some HP as well. So he's just really liking the first item Heartseeker on this clean. He did a fair bit of damage last game, so there you go.
And you know who else doesn't care what you think? Scary D. You were talking about this
Well, I
Frostbound
said-
hammer, and now it's the Rune Forge.
I said he could go Blackthorn, he could go Rune Forge. Most likely it'd be Frostbound, but I covered my bases.
You did cover every item in the tree, just to be sure.
Yeah, you'll learn the ways of the chair too. You just say, hey, here comes, like for example, Scream's going to go into Hydras there, but he could also be going into Transcendence. Kirmi's going to find an ult here.
There's going to be both ults from the junglers traded out. Kimmy not quite able to find his way over the wall, but he does have the zigzag, and he's
blink.
going to be more than fine.
Yeah, Scream didn't have the blink to chase that one down, and Kirmi had it. Once the poison stopped ticking and put him in combat, he was in no real danger of dying there. It looks like Inbound might be trying to wrap around and catch Wowie, but there's real no way. Wowie is so close to that tower, he could easily dash out of the rivers before they are able to go up.
Aquarius is going to take a fair amount of damage. Sitting at 0 mana right now, so we'll probably have to see him go back to base relatively shortly. And that will probably help him start up his next item, 1,200 gold in hand. Scream, though, trying to get aggressive onto Benny Q here, but that shield is going to stop the counter-aggression. Inbound, trying to make some rotations over. Benny Q gets caught out, trying to go into the wall, and he's going to fall down.
Yeah, that's a beautiful stinger by Baronic. If not, Benny Q just goes into the wall pretty freely there. Had the HP, was able to escape, but can't go into the wall when you have the cripple, and it did enough damage to make sure that Benny Q could not get away, even if he was able to beat that one away. He did use the beat, so could be in even more danger next time around. There's not too much CC that Benny Q really has to worry about right now because Scream just has slows, essentially. You could be beadsing those either way. Now, Baronic. Oh, Baronic didn't actually get the last hit, so Scary D rotated over and stole the last hit for that one. I really thought the Stinger and the Swarm was able to clean that up. You give a kill to your solo laner. Now Scary D's going to have even more pressure in lane. Aquarius has not had mana in so long.
Yeah, no, for sure. It does not seem like he's wanted to back. The teleport has just come back off cooldown now, so we could see Aquarius trying to do something, but Scream and Co are here, and Aquarius is just going to get sliced and diced and shredded, but wait, they weren't able to finish off the kill, and now Scream, the one getting turned around onto a beautiful ultimate from Kimmy to push him back onto tower.
Scary D got so baited by the fear. He tossed the 2 down and then just turned. It was like, oh, I always hit those. But the fear comes in and cancels it, so there will not be a kill option. And Gamma could be looking at Scary D here as well.
Here comes the chunky boy from the top, and Aquarius comes back with a teleport and closes out the kill. He's sick and tired of getting pushed around by Scary D.
Is Gamma the chunky boy?
Yeah,
I mean,
look at
the
him.
Kabrakan, I should say.
Have you seen Kabrakan?
No, I was
say
just
he's pretty
making sure
chunky.
because obviously Aquarius dashed in, and I
Well,
understand.
Aquarius is lanky. He's
I
really
understand.
tall.
The wraparound was what you're looking for. Inbound has the wraparound here, and will catch Wowie in the cavalry charge, but he can just, there's another pathway.
Yeah, Inbound, it's like a whole lane. It was just like a race course. He's just going to run straight down that street and get out of there for free. Aquarius going to do the same thing with the blue buff up the top right here. Stealing that one away from Scary D, who is now sitting a level behind.
Yeah, if we're looking at the gold lead, remember last game when the Solar Scarabs had that massive early gold lead? Not going to be the time this time around. The Valkyries have about 1,600 gold to their name. Aquarius was pretty far behind, and not so much anymore. That gank was really all he needed to have a level lead. going to be building into the breastplate, so not going to be too worried about the poke or the damage of Scary D for some time. Scream probably recognizes that and is putting some pressure onto the left side of the map. I don't imagine there will be any more ganks coming Aquarius' way until he's able to get level 12 and get a survivability relic or even a blink if that's what he wants.
Clearing back their jungle now. Wowie and Gamma sitting together here on the left-hand side, just trying to get a little bit more farm for Gamma, who is sitting about a level above inbound at the moment. Scratch that. It was only a little bit. It was a small percentage of a level, and now inbound is the same. Both of these supports level 8 at the moment. Just finishing up their sovereignties, and it looks like Gamma might be looking for what I think would be a really good idea to go for a Wing Blade here.
I think it's going to be the Witchblade because he's got the slow immunity in.
Aquarius.
Aquarius will be getting ganked one more time. Doesn't have too much healing. He just has to ult.
Pillar of Agony was used and wasted, really. There wasn't really too much damage. He could have, surely he didn't think that Pillar of Agony was going to save him.
No, you just got to use it trying to get more relics and or stall, because if you saw, Kirmi was on the way, but after the prots were shredded, there was no way that he's going to survive that long. Solar Scarabs have that pressure on the right side of the map because the solo laner's gone, and they're going to pick up the Pyromancer for their troubles. Trebuchet died in mid as well, so they're not going to lose their tower. A pretty solid answer back, and now the gold, a little bit more in favor of the Valks, only about 800, but the Scarabs, they're able to answer back.
They've clawed back a little bit of a lead that the Valhalla Valkyries have built essentially off of just this neutral farm. They've got the same amount of kills. I think First Blood did go to Valhalla Valkyries, so they've got, at the moment, just that First Blood bounty left in the coffers. A little bit less than that, sitting about 100 gold between these two teams. So basically dead even. I say basically, it is dead even. 11 minutes here into this game. Trelly, the Pyromancer just went down. This is an objective we've seen be the first target for a lot of these teams so far this week. When do you think the call should be made here for the Gold Fury?
Last time we saw the Gold Fury pulled, I believe Aquarius made a nice rotation over with the teleport. It really just depends on when they want to get active. Stewart has been pretty, I'm not going to say scared, just very safe in this lane, staying pretty far back, not really getting that pressure on Wowie that we saw last game. The Heimdall has the Bifrost ready, but it looks like Scream is going to wrap around here. They're trying to catch out Wowie. He does have the ult available, and it's going to start.
Trying to just deal the damage is Stewart. I'm not sure I like the call to use the ultimate there from Stewart. Wowie's out. They've basically gotten everything they were going to. Maybe Stewart expects Wowie to turn around and try and shoot off before he's got the max lane.
I think Stewart just wanted to close gap, just in case they were going to chase that one down. I think Scream was a little bit too far away as well. No blink to help close the gap himself, so Stewart's able to dive that one, but Scream can never get to the tower in time, and the chase pretty much has to end there. But ult for ult, not going to be the worst option because Wowie needs his ult to be safe. Stewart just needs a Bifrost, which is back off cooldown, and he can use pretty much whenever. So easy enough to trade that one out, and I don't think it's going to come back to bite him, unless, of course, Kirmi heads this way. But if you look at Kirmi, he's not going left. He's heading over to right. He's hitting Scary D.
One more time over to the right-hand side. Kirmi blinking forward, trying to find the damage. Ulting away is Scary D, but he's going to get caught out by the Stinger. And this time, the Pillar of Agony is all important, as Scary D is going to fall down because of it. And the distance and the disruption is going to cause the Scream is going to allow Kirmi to get out.
Yeah, Baronix has the chase down here. Does have the Stinger.
Ooh.
That's it.
That was a nice little sidestep from Aquarius to basically nullify anything Baronic could have possibly done to him there.
Yeah, and now it looks like the Valhalla Valkyries might be looking to pull this, but inbound steps up, and just a little bit of vision is enough to say, hey, we don't want a 2v3 at the Gold Fury, because the Gold Fury is essentially going to act like a third member of the Scarabs and damage us down. Not going to be too worth it. No real big burst on the map. I think Baronic probably has the strongest burst, and it just got used next to Aquarius, on the wall by Aquarius. Not quite on Aquarius, tried to be, but good juke shoes and a little side step will be enough to shut that one down. It does look like Gamma will go into that Witchblade, so Sovereignty and Witchblade going to shut down these auto attackers, of which there are 4 on the side of the Solar Scarabs.
Pridwin coming out from inbound as well. No sign of a gauntlet of Thebes yet from either of these two supports.
Yeah, I have seen a little bit of talk on Twitter specifically saying that Thebes loses a bit of value. This is a hunter-focused meta, so trying to counter them a little bit better. Sovereignty is going to be great for trying to deal with the physical combo, obviously, and Witchblade is going to help out as well. Gamma is trying to just zoom out of here, but Scream doesn't want Gamma. Scream wants this purple button.
There's going to be the tectonic shift from Gamma. He's going to get his protections absolutely melted, forced into a bad direction is Gamma, but is using that Phantom Shell. Wowie now the new target, trying to just tail down Scream. The damage is going to be good enough to save the life of the ADC, but for a mere moment, Stewart with the Galahorn able to clean that one up. A 1-for-1
Aqua's
trade,
coming.
but now Kimmy coming back through. Stewart forced to use that blink, but 3 people silenced out. And there's the Pillar of Agony, pulling back 2 inbound. Just about makes it through into the Riptide, but it's not going to get him out.
You have to highlight that play by Aqua, man. They're sitting under tower. Scary D is pushing him in. He backs, immediately upgrades that teleport and says, I don't care about lane, I'm coming left.
Up down onto Benny Q, Aegis and Beads expended by the mid laner, but Scary D not able to find anything else. And the Valhalla Valkyries get some pretty decent value off of that fight.
I'm surprised the Gold Fury is not going to be looked at with 2 dead, but there's enough neutral farm that they want to go for at the moment to make this at least worth it for them. So again, great teleport by Aquarius. He did not have that upgrade. He couldn't get there in time, but Scary D couldn't stop the back. He goes away. And then Aqua rotates into the fight, gets a massive ult, and that's going to be an easy fight win for the Valhalla Valkyries. Still trying to chase Scary D here, but Benny Q's here as well.
They really want this solo laner. The Zigzag is going to find it. That's going to be the top back in. Scream takes a whole chunk of change, the spread of the poison, but Baronic caught up here against the tectonic shift. The Aegis is used, and Bobby's there, but it's not going to be enough. Baronic falls down, and now the Valkyries with 2 kills off the right side of the map could be looking for some more objective-based play.
Kirmi is playing out of his mind right now, just chasing down Scary D, hitting so many different CCs and making sure this Osiris is not going to be able to make it out. The tick damage also almost killed Scream there, so now it looks like a free Gold Fury. There's no one even close. Stewart might try to throw a 1 over the wall, but look how quickly this is burning. At this point, Inbound is just clearing midway. Baronic's dead, so he's saying, I'm going to get as much farm as I can, and then Riptide away. Pyromancer's up, but I don't think Scream and Inbound could do this.
Trelly, it's happening again. Solar Scarabs are looking so solid in the early game, the first 15 minutes for all intents and purposes, but the Valhalla Valkyries, once again, they put themselves back into this driving seat. They found some extra advantages that the Solar Scarabs haven't quite been able to latch onto, and now they are, I would say, firmly with the momentum.
I would say they've had the momentum for a bit. It was really just Aquarius who was getting looked at, and a few failed ganks made sure that the Valhalla Valkyries had the gold lead and the fight lead now, looking 9-4, as you mentioned. They have Pyromancer available if they do want to try to go for that. The only lead they had was Stewart, and that was the last remaining hope that they had because he had a level lead, wasn't too afraid, but now he's looking 1-1, and just there's no way that he's going to be able to impact these fights for a while. He wants to just stay in that lane and farm up as much as possible. Gamma's level 13 and can wall off Baronic really whenever he wants here in this lane. Like that.
Right now, Baronic could have been in some trouble if not for just the sheer amount of attack speed he had there, but he's going to be just fine, courtesy of Inbound's Riptide. But I want to highlight, as this Pyromancer is getting done, so which means I might have to ask you about it in just a moment here.
One more?
The objective
Oh, that was close.
nearly falls down to Inbound. The bubble nearly able to find it. Valhalla Valkyries potentially looking for a little bit extra aggression here in the mid lane, but not quite. So what I wanted to highlight here, Trelly, is during the SCC portion of this week, we were seeing all these trebuchets getting stacked up and held onto until the last minute. This time around, the Valhalla Valkyries have basically been setting them up every time they spawn.
Yeah, it's a different play style, and obviously someone is going to have to come over here and do address it. That's why we're seeing Inbound near this left side of the map, just in case there's more members of the Valks pushing that trebuchet, making sure that Stewart's tower gets a little bit lower. But Stewart is going to focus it down pretty quickly here, standing out of range, and won't have to deal with that. Inbound, though, is getting aggressed upon by Kirmi and Benny Q.
There's only 2 people here, and they are both going to get stunned out, blinking forward. Scream looking to find the damage onto Kimmy, but straight on top of him, he goes. The health bars are low, and Inbound is going to be the target, but the waves are going to help the solo laner close that one out. Meanwhile, Baronic, the next target down. Scream able to make it out through the back line, and now Wowie jumping in, looking to fight Stewart, but the Bifrost is going to save the life of the ADC for now. Scary D, though, might not be so lucky.
I was going to see if Gamma was going to try to ult Scary D in corporal form. He's a ghosty boy, so can't get walled off, but the chase down will be enough to finish that one off. So
For sure.
The Solar Scarabs are going to lose 3, and then just Kirmi goes down in that fight. So what will they be able to get? Not much. Scream is on the right side, proxying waves, trying to get farm. Oni Fury isn't going to be up for quite some time, about 2 minutes, and no one's ready to pull Fire Giant just yet as well. The Wind Demon Shuriken, keep your eyes on that. When that's finished, you get a fair bit of Fire Giant damage, I should say. Right now, neither of these ADCs have that, so no one's really feeling too confident to get that. But a fair bit of gold now in favor of the Valks, about 4,000 their way. So they have a lead, and they're able to push it really wherever they see fit. We're seeing too many towers to try and go for, but again, that Oni Fury, that has to be the next spot the Valhalla Valkyries are looking for. And if you're the Solar Scarabs, you have to form a defense, or at least get some footing under you for that fight.
Some more variation from the SEC style builds that we were seeing earlier on. Scream on this Nemesis has opted to go for the hi-rez Lament here into the serrated edge, which I'm surprised we haven't seen more of. This item is just truly insane, especially in a meta that values such high health pools.
Yeah, you're going to need a lot of penetration early because you have 4 physicals, and hi-rez is going to give you some percentage pen, and serrated is going to give you some percentage pen. Also, Nemesis has so many different auto attack cancels. The hi-rez procs are going to be absolutely swinging.
Kimmy stole that.
We're seeing how much damage that Scream is able to do in the 1v1 with Kirmi, but was not able to finish that one off. It looked like very close to winning the 100-0 when you're looking at a 5-1 Circat that is just full damage. It's pretty impressive how much damage Scream's able to get off. Just, it's only on one target, and I think that's the big issue here. They have a very single target damage comp. It's really only when inbound gets a massive ult. Hold that thought though, Scream's getting aggressed upon.
Taking a lot of damage from BennyQ. The line of ghosts not quite able to find their slowing target just this time. Scream gonna have to limp away back to his back camps, but BennyQ and Kimmy on the left-hand side looking to find Stuart. There's gonna be the link forward into the ultimate. Stuart's already dead by the time that Scary D is even able to find the teleport off.
Yeah, Scary D tried to help out there, but just was not able to get the Bifrost. Had no sort of beads available, so the Aegis would have been too little too late. I think a smart play by Stuart by just saying, hey, I'm guaranteed dead here. Scary D, though, is going to waste that teleport. Maybe just defending left tower will get some gold over there, whereas Scream is on the right side of the map getting some farm as well. Missed Stinger by Veronic. Probably wants to retreat here because Gamma's got a wall, and he is going to be back far enough so that doesn't go down.
But it is going to open up the Gold Fury for some taken by the Valhalla Valkyries. They're able to take advantage of that blind spot that the Scarabs seem to have developed. Now moving up, Trolley, to a 5,000 gold deficit. The Solar Scarabs have got to start coming back from this one.
It's going to be difficult because the Oni Fury goes down, and now you have a lot of different minions that you want to try and defend. Especially, check out Wowie's pathing. He's going right. He's not going left. So someone has to be in left lane to defend that. Wowie, I think we know where he's headed to. The Pyromancer and the Fire Giant sitting over there. Wind Demon Shuriken and Ornate Arrow are finished for this Hachimen, so the crits will be flying, and this Fire Giant will not go down slowly. Stuart, still on that left side of the map, again, has to defend those minions, so this is going to be a true 4v5 at this Fire Giant.
And it's going to be all on the Valhalla Valkyries to start this one up. The Solar Scarabs not really in a position to start aggressing onto the fire, but they definitely have some steal potential here. Inbound, potentially some trouble. I heard the Q from Gamma's ultimate there, but it wasn't expended, so maybe the Riptide just disrupting him from that tectonic shift there.
Yeah, there was a way out.
There was a way out.
Said, there's no way out, but there actually was. This is going to go down very quickly. BennyQ's going to fire the ult as well. It's really just inbound.
It's shredding, and there's the second ult from BennyQ. No option for inbound, and he's going to fall down straight away after the objective is taken. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, Scream could be in some trouble. Uses that ultimate onto Aquarius, but it's not going to matter. The dash is already down, but he's able to find it. The cooldown comes up for him, and Gamma still charging through, looking to find some of the damage, but no ultimate for confirmed. So Scream's going to get out. BennyQ can't say the same, but with a Fire Giant under their belt, a tier 1 tower, and potentially a tier 2 from the looks of things, the Valhalla Valkyries aren't going to be too concerned that BennyQ fell.
Yeah, that is a massive kill, though. Getting FG off of BennyQ is going to be pretty strong, and Scream hangs on to that Blink, but
No
Kirmi,
way.
That's so annoying, and he has the Bumba's Hammer. There's no way Scary D ever gets out here. It's just going to be a long, slow burn as Kirmi gives him a little taunt on the way out. Just
That's
so annoying.
You gotta feel bad for Scary D at that point. If Kimmy does that even a second earlier, Baronic sticks around in that engagement, and I think they have some turnaround potential, but not this time. Baronic trying to make up for the death of his teammate, but Kirby is able to just stomp him down. The Aegis is not going to be enough to save the life of the Bee. Inbound falls down here as well, and now Stuart could be the next target. Falling a little bit of HP down, but he's going to find the Bifrost out in him and Scream run towards that left-hand side.
Yeah, I think there's too many low health bars here. The Phoenix certainly could be on the menu, but they're going to go for this. Aquarius has the HP to tank this one up. Doesn't quite have Bumba's hammer, but at least the Phoenix is going to go down.
Absolutely, it will. One pair of spicy hot wings down. The Valhalla Valkyries are going to walk over to the right-hand side, potentially look to pick up that tier 2 tower.
I don't think that's going to catch on.
Spicy hot wings.
You keep saying when the Phoenix goes down, the hot wings.
I mean, that's what they are.
I'm just saying, like, is your dream for Dave to one day say that on the cast? Because if he says it, then it'll be a thing.
No, it's my thing. It's a thing for me.
Okay.
And I don't need Dave to do a bit to validate me.
Well, I don't need, I mean, I don't care if it's validated for you. I'm just saying, do you think, you know, I'll be in the game and say, hey, let's go, like,
Let's go get the hot wings.
I'm in a ranked game, and I'm sorry, let's go left. They got some hot wings up, we'll take them out.
It's an English thing, Trilly. It's all the rage in the UK.
Oh, everyone's saying
Everyone
hot
says it in the UK. It's definitely an English thing. Benny Q nearly falls down here on the left-hand side, but he's going to dissuade Stuart and Scream from continuing that aggression with Aquarius, who teleports just to back.
Yeah, just to make sure that Benny Q does not fall once again. Remember, Benny Q already died and lost that Fire Giant, and dying again would have essentially stopped this push. Like, there's no way you want to push 4v5 with FG. You only have 1:20 left on, and it looks like the Valks are trying to group up, trying to make one more push, maybe in left. There's 2 towers still standing, so they have the time, and if Benny Q falls there, they essentially just have to give up on that. So I think smart play, rather use it than don't, and I think also Aquarius has that Bumba's hammer online, so he's going to be very useful in these upcoming fights.
The left-hand side should be the next heavy objective for the Valhalla Valkyries. As you mentioned, Trelly, 2 towers left standing between them and the left side Phoenix, which will be super helpful for them to pick up if they are relying on going for the second Fire Giant. Only 45 seconds left on the current one, though, so it's going to be a rough, rushed job.
Scream just built Deathbringer. He just simply built Deathbringer.
Ah, I see that.
Like, I understand that you get great stats from Deathbringer, and it just doesn't seem like it really fit in the build. He just wants some lucky crits, and you still can use the power no matter what. You know what? I respect it. It's gonna help, especially like a hi-rez Deathbringer crit could be the difference of just getting the kill and not. And now this left Phoenix will be looked at. Only 15 seconds left on fire.
Scary D up here on the right-hand side, trying to just distract 2 members of the Valhalla Valkyries. As you mentioned, this Fire Giant is going to run off in 3, 2, 1. And the Valhalla Valkyries are going to have to back off for now.
Yeah, it's not going to be the worst case scenario for the Scarabs. You lose your mid Phoenix. That one's going to be pretty easy to defend, just pushing up pretty consistently for when this Fire Giant spawns in. Not going to be enhanced for quite some time, another 3 minutes or so. So I don't imagine that the Fire Giant dance will take that long. I think the Valks will feel confident enough to pull it. Maybe inbound, maybe Scary D walk up. They have a chance to steal, but how are you going to get away after the fact? They have so much to chase down here. Looking at the builds, such a differential. You already have a full Deathbringer for Wowie. I imagine it'll be envenomed here shortly, as we see that will be able to be purchased, as well as upgraded relics. If you're looking at the other side, the Solar Scarabs simply can't match it. Scream actually doesn't go for the envenomed Deathbringer. He wants more cooldown resets, I see. So he's stacking Bumba's hammer, as well as the cooldown reset crit Deathbringer. Whenever it does come through, that malicious Deathbringer will make sure that he gets even more shields, even more slice and dices, and even more dashes.
And it's crazy. I'm not sure I've ever seen a malicious Deathbringer be built. I'm much less on a Nemesis with, for all intents and purposes, not the standard crit Nemesis build.
It's certainly not the standard crit Nemesis build. Inbound, though, will be the first target here. He's gone.
The standard dead inbound right here, ladies and gentlemen, is able to get the River's Rebuke off, but not quite enough to save his own life. Now the Valhalla Valkyries, 1-man advantage for them, looking to find this second Fire Giant of the game. The Solar Scarabs are gonna have to step up to this if they don't want to lose. It's gonna be a very difficult situation for them if they let them get this for free.
Yeah, Scream has to go mid and defend those fire waves, and I think Scary D got the call to back off. It doesn't look like he's even trying to contest this. He's sort of just watching it go down, and now that they hear the noise, they will run away. Not the worst case scenario. I've said this a few times now because it could always get worse.
It could always
have been
worse.
a minute 30 later. And it's oh no, not again.
Oh, Scream once again getting caught out by Kermi, and Kermi just has more mobility than Scream does. There's gonna be the stinger, and there's the zigzag. Scream falls down, and now without their primary tank shred, Trelly, this could be disastrous for the red squad.
Yeah, Baronic does not have the Stinger available, and Benny Q is being a menace in the walls right now. It looks like Aquarius blinks in, and the Phoenix is going to be getting shredded. 3
people silenced out there by Aquarius, trying to come back and just waiting out for this Phoenix to take some damage. The Trebuchet is right behind them. The Phoenix is about half HP. Now the mid lane just falls down. Kimi able to find credit for that one. Now 2 birds have lost their lives, and the Valhalla Valkyries, they want to play this safe. There's still 4 members of the Solar Scarabs online. They're looking towards this left-hand side, potentially for the Phoenix, or potentially for this engaged Kimi jumping along the top. Stewart is going to be the target, is able to make it into the Bifrost, but it's not going to matter. 2 people dead. Byronic, is going to be down in the ground, and now it's just Scary D and Stewart trying to defend this Titan. 1 person goes through the 9 realms, and Stewart is able to find 1. So far, so good, but the Titan is falling too low, and the Valhalla Valkyries will move on to tomorrow.
That doesn't make sense. Stewart was 1v5 and got a quadra, but he has 3 other helpers that can only kill 1. What happens there?
I don't know, man. Like, Stewart not playing a god with those penetrating auto attacks this time around. The health bars weren't as low. There were more minion waves. How many more excuses do you want?
Yeah, you know what? If you gave me enough time, I could have created that scenario as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to see he got the quadra once. I wanted to see
You
the
were viscerally
pentakill defense.
angry
Yeah,
this time around.
Just well played by the Valks. You know, we saw last game where the Scarabs go off to a great start, and the Valks were able to like inch their way back in and then just take the lead. This time around, it was more so just the Valks dominating the whole stage of the game, besides a little bit of life early on from the Scarabs.
It really was dominating, and now we're going to have to see more from the Scarabs later. But to break down this game, we're going back to the desk.
Scarabs not out of the tournament just yet. Valhalla Valkyries, though, move on to next week, confirmed. And now we'll move forward in just a little bit of time after we break down this one into the SEC rematch. And then hopefully, if you're a Scarabs fan, they'll be able to overcome that and move to next week as well. This is a much more well put together game, I think, from the Valhalla Valkyries. Myth didn't require a full-on, full-tilt turnaround, though there were still some moments from the Scarabs early on that had us guessing. Eventually, the scaling just became too much.
Yeah, so in game 1, if it's the Solar Scarabs establishing an early lead and then maybe fumbling it around the red buff, this time it's early game pretty contentious between the Valhalla Valkyries and the Solar Scarabs, but eventually it's the Valkyries who pull themselves ahead, and they maintain that lead for the entirety of the match. It was a pretty rough performance from Scream today. Got caught out multiple times in both games of this set by Kirmi, that Nemesis versus Surcat matchup. Not looking so good for the Nemesis this time around. The team fights just felt so much more concise from the Valhalla Valkyries. Always grouped up as 5, always ready for an engagement. And even when the Scarabs were grouped, it felt like it was 3 people here, 1 person nearby, maybe could follow up, 1 guy across the map, just split pushing. If it's proactive play, if it's team play, the Valhalla Valkyries brought it, and they brought it well.
Kirmi just looked so good this game. This Surcat was near unstoppable by the end of it. So many 1v1s, as you point out there, Myth. Not only against Scream, but taking these fights against Baronic and eliminating a team member from the Solar Scarabs so early in the fights. And the rest of the Valkyries being able to rally around that. I mean, Kirmi's dead to rights here, but the rest of the Valkyries able to show up and help their jungler stay alive. 10, 2, and 10 for Kirmi. And the rest of the KDA is looking pretty good for the Valkyries as well. Without that risk of piling on, different look at a game from Inbound here this game. There was a fantastic early to mid game in game 1 from the Emoji. This game, just nothing really getting going for the Solar Scarabs out of that duo lane. Benny Q does the outpouring of damage we thought that the Clean mid would end up being able to do, 32,000 damage. And the Valkyries just looked like such a cleaner team here in this game. And Myth, that's exciting for Valkyries fans when you compare it even to what we saw at the end of Phase 1. They're able to get a win over the Leviathans, steadily improving. Now you haven't seen them in a couple weeks, and this is the first best-of-3 set against an SPL squad you get to watch. And it's a pretty clean 2-0 over the Solar Scarabs. That'll move the Valhalla Valkyries on to next week of play. They'll go up against some more SPL squads next week. We have one more best-of-3. This one is an elimination best-of-3. The Eldritch Hounds and the Wardens go toe-to-toe for one final spot up against the Solar Scarabs later today.
Man, really excited for this set to see which one of these SEC representatives is allowed to line up against the Solar Scarabs. Could potentially have a rematch if the Kowloon Wardens have their way. The Eldritch Hounds, I'm sure, would love to be able to try again and try against a different SPL team at that. But, you know, there is one, I suppose, downside for the Valhalla Valkyries fans, having seen them now win so quickly, and it's that you don't get to watch them again for a little while.
You got to hang out until next week to watch
That's right.
the Valkyries play again. Hounds and Wardens. This one's some fun, Miff. Our first elimination match of the day. Both teams pretty handedly losing to the SPL squads earlier on today. So it's all about regaining that footing moving forward into this next best of 3. Wardens versus Hound elimination best of 3 coming up next.